Welcome back to the Dividend Domain. This is episode 9 of the Robin Fire series. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. Every Saturday at 8 a.m., I'm dropping portfolio updates. So let's jump right into it. Right. So let's get the disclaimer out the way. I am not a financial advisor. This information presented is strictly for entertainment and educational purposes and does not constitute financial, investment, tax, or legal advice. All investments involve risk. Viewers should conduct their own research and consult with a qualified professional before acting on any information provided. Alrighty, now we got that out of the way. Intent and purpose of this portfolio or the strategy is to eventually get to the point where I'm investing 100% of my income into this Robinhood taxable brokerage where I'm getting a 5% interest rate, margin interest rate that is. My goal is to get this portfolio to about 15 to 20K before I start seriously floating bills. Right now, I'm investing anywhere from 500 to 1,000. Some months more. I'll probably display that later in a later episode, kind of break down the investments over time. I'm trying to ramp up and build up the portfolio right now. Get it higher value because I don't want to start floating a bunch of bills irresponsibly and take on too much margin, because I kind of want to use it as a hybrid if we do have any drastic downturns, and I have some additional margin equity to buy assets. Timeline for this is about 3 to 5 years to be financially free or work optional. How I'm achieving this goal is with a growth/value category where it's 40%. These will drip to build the equity and compound over time. Then I have the high yield core. These are the more stable, traditional dividend stock like SCHG, SPYI, which is a cover called ETF by NEOS. Then I have the high yield singles, which is BTCI, NVIDIA, HOOW. Probably should change this because it's not necessarily single, because Maggie is compromised of the Mag 7s. That's 30%, split with another 30% for the high yield cord, which is a little bit more stable. I may be making some adjustments to this eventually. We'll see how it pans out. And eventually, I want to be able to cover my bills and lifestyle out of this portfolio. Today's episode, we're going to talk about the $250 buy and the allocation tool that I use to determine that. And I don't always use this, but it kind of gives me a good gauge of where everything's at. That's directly out of Snowball Analytics. Right now, we're looking at the $250 buy. So you look at the deposit rebalance. You can look at setup. This is based off balance off the assets, or you can balance off balance of categories or balance of assets. What it does is it will, depending on the allocations you set for your portfolio, it takes that in consideration. As you can see, share in portfolio, SPYG is at 5.62%. I need to get to a 10% allocation. And I'm thinking about revisiting some of these, and I'll explain why soon. It says $100 into SPYG, SCHG, which is a growth ETF in the growth category. And again, when you see this dollar sign, that means I'm below my cost basis. Typically a good time to dollar cost average in $50 here. QQQI, which is in my core category, I need to get up to 15% at 12.19. As you see here, allocations 20, I'm at about 17%. Then for HOOW as well, right above the allocation on the target goal for here. However, I am down about 23%. That could help bring my cost basis down. That's why it was added in here. So it's another 50. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to catch the markets. What I did have to do is queue that in for pending orders. At 250 is what you see here now, pending orders. I'm at about 6,838.22 cents. That's that total buying power. That's how much cash I had subtracted from that, and the rest of that's some payouts that I have from dividends. We'll take a look at that and we'll see the total we had from there. What I will do is eventually start to float the margin and start with my phone bill. If we go back here, I'll start with the phone bill. More than likely that'll probably start next month. I'll determine if it makes sense for me to add additional bills from there. Let's jump into Snowball Analytics right now. This is my current portfolio value. This is my blended yield, 16.45%, of which my target goal is closer to 20%. We'll work on that, but when we look in here, this shows you the allocation. So this is the growth, the 40%, and then the 30 I have between the core high yields and the high yield ETFs, which are a little bit riskier. And you can tell right here, see I'm up $16. That's 1%, and I'm down about 7% in this category. Primarily, it's HOOW, BTCI. Both of these were BTCI was purchased a little sooner than I did HOOW. Either way, they're both at a high cost basis. So when we seen the drop in the market, these two were impacted the most. I'm more bullish on Bitcoin than I would say Hood, but I think they're both great options. Again, like I said, I'm more on the Bitcoin crypto side. And Maggie, obviously, this is something I added recently. Negative because the market is down, but we'll see how that performs. And if I need to make any adjustments, I will do so. The growth category, SCHG, we see that's supposed to be a 50% allocation. We're at about 43% here. These are higher than they should be. For now, I will stop investing. I did throw a little bit more in Visa. That was because Visa did drop below my cost basis. I think it's a good time with Trump possibly putting a cap on credit card interest rates. Obviously, it could just be a temporary impact. Either way, I want to take advantage of it. This is a good growth or dividend paying stock that I want to keep in this category. But I may reduce the allocations to make these lower and then just add more for these ETFs. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see how things are going. If there's good opportunities to buy some single stock I've been eyeing, then that may be added to this category. Lastly is the core. QQQI is a little bit more volatile. So you see we're almost 0.3%, but which is not much. And again, we got paid out dividends on this, SPYI. And then let's go ahead and go to our dividend calendar. So what we want to do is go in here and claim these. So what I want to do is just double check here. So these are the dividends that paid out. So this is 8.96 for, this is QQQI, the NASDAQ. We'll go back here, make sure that matches 8.96. Then we'll go ahead and claim that. And then we'll go back 5.80 for SPYI. That is correct. Claim that dividend. Then we have 16.23 for BTCI and save, claim that dividend. And lastly, I have NVIDIA gave us a $3.62, which gave us a total of $34.61. You can see here, this is the $250 deposit. This is the order I have queued for market opening on Monday. And then you already see for January 26th, I have a pending dividend of $2.97 for Maggie. Save. Come back here to the categories. You see how that adjusted. We got something for BTCI. Bring it down slightly, not by much. Same category. And then you see how QQQI was down. Now just claiming that dividend puts me back in the positive. So the cores are in the positive. This needs a little bit work. I'll probably be adding possibly to these to bring the cost basis down. So when I do get a recovery, it'll look nice. But right now, SCHG, again, when market open comes on Monday, we'll see what price I purchase all these assets at. All right. And let's go. Lastly, we looked at the dividends received. I think this pretty much will sum it up for the most part. I definitely want to look at allocations for this portfolio and maybe make some adjustments just to see what I can do to bring the yield up. But I'm also trying to be conservative in the sense that there's so many things coming up. With that being said, these dates that I did mention before, we got a FOMC meeting coming up this week. We got peak earnings. So this could kind of help set the tone for Q1. We'll see how this pans out. I'm kind of just playing it by ear right now, seeing how the portfolio responds, and ultimately I'll make adjustments and pivot. Let's see. We're at 83 according to Snowball Analytics. We're at about 83.38, of which you just seen about $34 that we claimed. We still have another week left, but here you'll see I won't be getting much more from that. We see that we're bouncing around anywhere from 83 to about $93 looking to be the highest. Again, it's going to fluctuate because of these higher yielders that you see even here. About a little bit more Maggie, but you see the payment fluctuate from week to week. Here it's 674, then we go down to 522. I still primarily just rely on my core. I try to base it based off of that and not entirely focus on what these pay because the distributions vary so widely. Again, thank you for tuning in to the Dividend Domain. Please like, comment, subscribe, turn on your post notifications. Again, every Saturday at 8 a.m. I'm dropping portfolio updates, and then not only that, I do short form content where I do some ETF highlights and talk about useful things for dividend investing and yield. And wherever you are, good night, good morning, good evening, and thank you for your time.